Going on a summer holiday. No more working for a week or two. Fun and laughter on a summer holiday. No more worries for a week or two.
Oopsie, you alright?
We're going where the sun shines brightly. We're going where the sea is blue. We've seen it in the movies. Now let's see if it's true. Everybody has a summer holiday, doing things they always wanted to. So we're going on a summer holiday to make our dreams come true. For me and you.
Vem dançar comigo pelas ondas da aventura. Eu prometo dar-te oceanos de ternura. Sobre o vento, tu serás sempre o meu lar. Até o céu conspira que és tu. Quem quer amar, amar. Dança comigo pelo teu céu que há em mim. Dança comigo, aos teus desejos direi sim. Dança comigo, que nos teus braços vou sonhar. Dança comigo, pelo teu lua, sol e mar.
Cheers, Jerry, we're on holiday.
Dança esta canção, porque tem tudo de ti. Tem ritmo e alegria, que é o que tu me dás a mim. Há na melodia uma luz, uma razão. Há na harmonia uma força, que é paixão, paixão. Dança comigo, eu dou o céu que há em mim. Dança comigo, aos teus desejos direi sim. Dança comigo, que nos teus braços vou sonhar. Dança comigo, eu dou a lua, o sol e o mar. Danse avec moi, je suis heureuse dans tes bras. Te quiero tanto, eres mi sueño, mi encanto. Let's dance together, I wanna take you to the moon. Let's dance together, I wanna make your dreams come true. Dança comigo, eu dou o céu que há em mim. Dança comigo, aos teus desejos direi sim. Dança comigo, que nos teus braços vou sonhar. Dança comigo, eu dou a lua, o sol e o mar. Dança comigo. Trees swaying in the summer breeze, showing off their silver leaves as we walked by. Soft kisses on a summer's day, laughing all our cares away, just you and I. Sweet, sleepy warmth of summer nights, gazing at the distant lights in the starry sky. They say that all good things must end someday. Autumn leaves must fall. But don't you know that it hurts me so to say goodbye to you? Wish you didn't have to go. No, 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 no. And when the rain beats against my window pane, I'll think of summer days again and dream of you. They say that all good things must end someday. Autumn leaves must fall. But don't you know that it hurts me so to say goodbye to you? Wish you didn't have to go. No, 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 no. And when the rain beats against my window pane, I'll think of summer days again and dream of you. And dream of you.
Well, hi everyone. I got that wrong, but never mind. What we're going to focus on today, as I mentioned earlier in the week, I wanted to go over the timeline of the week, my view of the timeline. It's kind of like a movie in my head. So I want to let you know what I believe and what I think. And you make up your own minds what you think, or whether or not you agree with me, or if you need links to show anything, because I won't really be doing any graphics today. I'm just going to focus on memory, but I will be reminding myself with a post I did in our WordPress blog. So I have one little issue. I was a little bit late. Sorry about that. Welcome, everybody. I have the radio going in the background and I don't want any copyright. I got it once for doing jingle. I had jingle bells in the background. So if you'll just excuse me a minute, I will just pop up and turn that off. So just give me a sec. There we go. Now, if I'd have had Shirley here, she would have sung at you or something like that. But Shirley wasn't available today, and I don't blame her. It's kind of a last minute thing. Anyway, I want to do, as I say, go over the timeline of the week, which I basically have it all in my brain, but I will be using my WordPress blog. But before I get to that, I've got a few issues issues and a couple of things I want to point out. Now, most of you know that part of the reason I'm doing this is because of the great private Facebook group, What Really Happened to Maddie McCann. So it's so busy in there, really busy. If you join in, you will be amazed at some of the information in there is just incredible. And there's a couple of things that occasionally I manage to get in and post a few things. But there's a couple of things this week that I really want to go further with, but I want to bring it to your attention on here, first of all. Now, I didn't really want to address this, but it's important for Maddie, is that sometimes you'll come across creators that really don't give out the information. They expect you to believe it as fact. I want everybody to check. There's one creator who claims that there's blood under the tile. I don't know, still to this day, the blood under the tile was actually the officer that was lifting the tiles. So when you hear there's blood under the tiles, you know that that creator hasn't done a lot of research. There's another one that really, I don't know what the word is, but really said some nasty things about me, which opinion is fine. Opinion, you want to have an opinion, you want to question me, you want to say you don't believe me, that's okay. But I was accused of making money. I mean, I'm not going to go into what I was accused of, but it was all totally false. And I've also seen that some of the things he's claiming are false. So just beware. If you do follow somebody, check them out. Check them out. And check for links. Check for what they're saying. It's really important. Maddie deserves that. Don't listen to anything blindly. One more thing that I want to tell you, which is actually quite exciting. And Kenny was discussing it with me last week, because there was a phone call. He's also got a thread in the group. On Wednesday morning, there was a phone call. No, there was text messages. I think there was 14 text messages to Jerry, which he denied. But what he denied was we didn't have 16 text messages. It might have been the other way around. But you see how he's really clever. That's true. He didn't receive 16 text messages, but he did receive 14. And what I have discovered, thanks to Isabel McFadden, is that the 14 text messages were actually to legal counsel. Now, why? She mentions it about being on the 4th. He was in touch with legal counsel, but the text messages actually started on the Wednesday, the 2nd. And they were so important. The PJ know exactly what was in them. They're fully aware. And that's why when they, prior to the shelving, they applied to Supreme Court to see if they could be made public. And Judge Cardoso denied them that. Now, what I think maybe the reason he denied them is because back in 2008, when they were shelving the case, I don't think I've got the door open and the flies are just coming in like crazy. I'm sorry about that. Back in 2008, there wasn't any, I had suspected something happened earlier, but not many people did, and probably not the PJ. They were following the witness statements. And so possibly the judge at that time considered, okay, nothing happened to Madeline until Thursday night. So why would his text messages on Wednesday be important? That's what I think may have happened. I don't know. But anyway, they were the Portuguese police do know them, do have them, and know what was in them. And from what I understand from Isabel, it was a call to his legal counsel. Now, that in itself tells you, hang on, what was happening by Wednesday? For anybody who thinks nothing happened till Thursday evening, what was happening Thursday? But that's not the whole story. That was at 8 o'clock in the morning, the text messages started coming. But at 7:30 approximately, Kate had already phoned her friend in England, and it was the friend, I think it was Amanda, it was the friend who had a pathologist as a husband. It was a very odd call first thing in the morning. It wasn't something she did all through the holiday, as far as we know. And that's kind of odd to make a call like that. And then half an hour later, Jerry starts getting text messages. And then half an hour after that, and this is what makes it really, really strange, is that Jane Tanner had a phone call with, now I need Cherry or Kerry to remind me of what the man was. Paxman, Claxman, I think. She was very careful about what she said, but it was a call that was questionable. And Kerry or Cherry hopefully will let me know and remind me. I tried to look it up, but I would have been later than I was. So I'll get back to you on that one. It was Christine Flaxman. Thanks, Cherry. But what was it that her husband did? Cherry's popping up, giving me information. Anyway, I'll see that in a minute. There was something else I wanted to go over. And yeah, I was going back over an old reference forum from way back in 2007. I started it, and I was collecting a lot of the news articles of that time. We didn't think really much of it. But now, what I went back and saw it, and I thought, wow, I remember that, but it's all forgotten because now all our media is sanitized. Excuse me. And what I was coming up with was quite amazing. I found the graphic that I did for Kate McCann for her pregnancy, and highlighted the bed rest. And she basically, Madeline was only 14 months old by the time she had the twins. She made it very clear and open that she couldn't cope. Madeline cried 18 hours a day or screamed or whatever, and she was having a hard time. But when you go back to some of the old news articles, including the Times, they were saying that they were thinking of arresting Kate because of her volatile nature. And apparently she is very volatile. I think even Mrs. Fenn did refer to that she heard stuff like that. So it's kind of interesting to go back over those. I know they're news articles and we mustn't take everything exact, but certainly when you get quite a few, including the Times, referencing the sorry, I saw a thing come through from Cherry, but referencing quotes, you can kind of believe quotes or get a feel. Anyway, it was very different back then in the news, and things have changed a lot. Now, it's totally sanitized and we're not hearing any of that. So, Cherry, you'd mentioned it was Christine Klaxman, but there was something curious as to why she would have phoned them. Why? What was it her husband did? There was something. I'm sorry, I can't remember and didn't check before I came on. But her husband did something, or she did something. Not a doctor, forensic, something like that. Anyway, we will wait and see. Maybe I'll find out before the end of this. And I see that we have a little speckles, so nobody up there right now, but I do suspect, because the door is open and the flies are coming in, that one of them is going to be up there to make a guest appearance again, just like last time. So let me just check. I'm not very good at looking at comments, and that's why Shirley's usually here with me, because she checks. Okay. That's it. Thank you, Cherry. That's great of you. Thank you. Yeah, she's just let me know that the person that Jane Tanner called half an hour after the text messages started coming in, and an hour after Kate phoned her friend, whose husband is a pathologist, Jane spoke to Christine Flaxman about forensics, because they specialized in low copy LCN, low copy numbers, whatever. Anyway, what that is when they can only get a slight DNA sample and they have to amplify it, and low copy number, I think, is what it is. So that's two of the issues which there's quite a lot of activity about in the group, and Jane and all the other admin are absolutely wonderful. Now, not to mention that Cherry in Heidi Ho Controversy, she is brilliant, obviously. So it's not as busy in Heidi Ho Controversy, thankfully, because I don't want Cherry working too hard. But you can always pop in there, it's public, and do a search for a keyword and look for the, we've got lots, I mean, right from 10 years we've had that group, and all my posts from 10 years are in there. So anything with a keyword, you can just click the keyword or ask Cherry and Carrie. Carrie works hard in there as well. And you will get the answer that you want. And that's what I'm saying. You don't have to believe me. You shouldn't just believe blindly anybody. If something inspires you, get the keyword and check it out. And that's really important. So the purpose of this is basically I've got like a movie in my head. I played you the thingy that I did for the Saturday. So you got a feel for when they came and everything else, if you were here. If you weren't, don't worry. But for the rest of the week, I want you to understand why I think the way I do. And I've got all this from, my research on statements and the files. And I did a lot. And I absolutely stand behind everything I claim. If I'm wrong, I will go back and correct it. Now, what I think we need to remember, it was 2007. Things were totally different then. We didn't have the social media that we have now. We did have forums and blogs. We didn't have Facebook back then. I remember Web Sleuths, I think, was around at that time, and we had the 3As, the Mirror Forum, um, Digital Spy, things like that. But it wasn't such a big social media thing. So the very short version of what I think basically happened is that here they were on holiday in Portugal, and something happened to Maddie at some point. And I believe it to have been earlier in the week. I don't know what. But they're faced with what do we do now? And there may have been circumstances that they didn't want to report it if it wasn't an accident, or if it was an accident, but they didn't want to go through autopsies, things like that. So they made a decision to basically think of a way of getting through the holiday without anybody knowing. And it's likely that the rest of the the T7 friends knew. And I don't think Diane Webster knew, though. I think they kept that from her. So they decided, okay, we're going to pretend and stage an abduction. Let's see how we can put it together. But meanwhile, we're going to have to explain or find a way so that Maddie isn't seen during the week. Well, they'd planned on having lunches in their apartments. They planned on meeting at breakfast every morning. They probably didn't plan on going to the crash for the full day. It was a half-day crash, and you paid if you wanted to go to the other half day. So they probably didn't even plan to go to the crash for more than half a day. But let's say if, as I believe, by Monday, something had happened to Maddie. They couldn't go to breakfast. They couldn't arrive at breakfast without Maddie being there. Diane would have wondered what on earth was happening. They, for the same reason, they couldn't meet for lunch as they did on the Sunday, I think. Yes, they did. The Sunday was the time when the cleaner's daughter saw them going up the stairs to the Payne's apartment. So they thought, okay, we've sorted that. We just won't go to lunch. We won't go to breakfast. They made excuses about staying at home, and it was the cobbles. They didn't want to walk down the cobbles. But then they're faced with, how do we get through pretending Maddie's at the crash? Now, if it was earlier in the week, the nannies wouldn't really recognize her too much, and the actual register was very children were arriving and leaving at different times. Sometimes they'd leave or arrive when they're out somewhere. It wasn't very strict. So this is something which I have just recently discovered, is that I believe that they figured, okay, if we go together with Russell O'Brien, his daughter is a similar age, only 3 months younger, and she had the similar hair color and was very similar. So how about we go there to the crash? She goes in. Jerry says, I'll go in, and we won't, no need to say anything about names. It's just that he goes in, and it would be presumed that daughter was his, that girl was his daughter. So when the interviews happen the following week or whenever, they'd all say, oh yeah, we saw Jerry with his daughter. So with that accomplished, then they went through the faked abduction. And how could they accomplish that? Well, I believe that they always looked after their children. It's very possible that the pains, because they had a monitor that they just monitored. I don't know, but we do know that Paulo Rebello suggests that there were 7 children in one room, and Clarence Mitchell questioned that and denied it. So we know it was said, or he wouldn't have denied it. They probably figured out what they were doing for that night. They were going to jimmy shutters and then just have the twins on their own in the apartment. And to accomplish that is what Gonzalo Amaral considers the cowpole, that she was maybe overdosed. Now, it's possible that 2 people gave her the cowpole. You know, we look at the McCanns as being responsible on this, but who knows? If it was an accident, is it possible they gave her cowpole and then somebody else gave her more? And that's another thread that's been talked about in what really happened, is the cowpole issue. And everybody's saying, well, cowpole is nothing. But back in 2007, it was new. It was night cowpole. And it had antihistamines and something else in it, and it was made for sleep. It was described to aid as a sedative. And it was actually taken off the market in 2010. So at that time, I don't know if she was given an overdose or 2 overdoses. You know, that might be the cause. I don't know. None of us know. But it's a possibility. But do remember that it wasn't just regular cowpole as you get now. It was a different cowpole at that point. And so that's why the twins weren't able to be woken up, because they'd be moved around. They're going here and they're going there. And once everything was in place, and I think that's when Russell O'Brien probably went off to sort out the shutters and came back, and that was Kate's cue to leave at 10. He came back at 5 to 10. It was Kate's cue to leave and go and claim they've taken her. So that's basically what I believe, because they didn't really know they were going to get the scrutiny that we're giving them, or have given them, over the years. There wasn't the social media, so they were not ready. They were not ready to be scrutinized as they have been. They thought it was Portugal. Portugal's probably backward with the police, and thought they could get away with it. And what happened then, with all the major figures coming into it, Gordon Brown, Clarence Mitchell, you know, everything changed. So that's the very basics of what I believe, well, what we kind of believe happened. But I'd like to go through my thoughts on what happened. And if you can bear with me, and I haven't been able to watch any of, is there any questions right now or anything you need to tell me? Because I'm here on my own and I might be without any sound. So, oh, hi, Emily. I see you here. Hi. Is everything okay? And you can hear me okay? So can you give me the okay signal, Carrie, if everything's okay? And then I can get on and not have to worry. Oh, I do miss Shirley. And I miss Kenny. Kenny was a great, great guest last week. Thank you, Kenny, if you're here. You did what everybody loved you. And hopefully you'll come back and join me again. You've been putting out some good threads in there. It's a great group. So is Heidi-ho controversy. But we're different, and that's okay. Okay, Emily's answered, yes, she can hear me. Okay, so now I am going to, I did want to do it off my brain, so to speak, but I would have liked to have just gone over everything beforehand, and I didn't have a chance to do that. So I'm going to follow along with the timeline I put. We do have a WordPress blog. We have channels. We have groups that I've even forgot what we use them for. So, okay, on hang on Sunday. Okay. Actually, we don't know much about Sunday. And I'm sorry if I'm doing a side eye here. We don't know much about Sunday. Now, we do know that the one sighting, which I believe is the real one, the only credible sighting, it was the cleaner's daughter. She saw them outside their apartment at 1:15. I checked her time of work, and that was the time that she finished work, and the time that they would be going up to. Everything fitted, and she mentioned about the lights in their shoes. She mentioned about a piece of bread. So it was very, very credible, and she was going up to the apartment next to the Payne's apartment, so she would have been next door to them and have seen them when they were up there. So we do know that following that, they went to the pool. That was around lunchtime. It was a lovely sunny day. Temperatures were about 23. And I believe that that's when, and Peter Mack, who is another great researcher, there's several great researchers, and I'm really proud to be part of it. He went into the weather issue and believes that the last photo wasn't taken on the Thursday. It was taken on the Sunday. It was a lovely sunny day. And one thing I did mention before, which always comes up regarding the last photo, the reason that I believe that it was contrived is because on the Tuesday, I mean, why on earth would they mention about buying Jerry sunglasses? There's only one reason. It's mentioned on the Tuesday so that we're supposed to believe that the photo couldn't be taken on the Sunday because he didn't have sunglasses. But it had to be taken on Thursday. No. Now, on the Sunday, Matthew Oldfield was sick, and he didn't go to the tapas on Sunday night, which a lot of people say, yes, there was always somebody sick, and that's why they were looking after the children. Oddly, Russell O'Brien tells us that he went to check on Matthew and Rachel's child on Sunday. That's weird. Matthew was already there. Is he checking on Matthew? No, it's all a bunch of codswallop as far as we did this, I did this, you know. But we don't know what to believe. We can only kind of surmise from what they say. Now, they all dined at the tapas that night. This was Sunday night. So at this point, I don't believe anything had happened to Maddie. Everything was fine. They all went there, and the meals were included, and so was the wine. So Monday, now most of them went to the Millennium for breakfast, But the McCanns decided it was difficult walking with the twins as they didn't have a buggy. Now, is that true? Or had something happened to Maddie, or was she sick at this point? You have to wonder. Kate played tennis at 9:15 to 10:15, and Jerry played from 10:15 to 11:15, and that was the actual times that they did that every day. Now, we weren't told a lot about Monday, and ultimately, I believe that by Monday something had happened to Maddie. I'll tell you why shortly. But there were questions. Oh my golly, I've just had a little light bulb moment. Curly, Kevin, are you listening to this? Because it's just reminded me that they went to Sagres on the Monday. Monday is a questionable day, and they went to Sagres. Now, I just want to add a little something here, not part of the timeline as such, but I've been in touch with Kevin because in the middle of June and to the end of July, there was a lot of trips to the Triangle, which includes Sagres, Villa de Bispo, and Udens and other places. And by the 28th of July, which was just before the dogs came in, is when they stopped going. They'd go there for an hour at night, and they stopped going. And when I recognized the timeline being the end of July, this is when Jerry's brother-in-law claimed that they dropped food and meat into the trunk of the car and therefore had to leave the trunk open. And a neighbor saw the trunk open every night at the end of July after. So I've been thinking that something happened and she was maybe there in Sagres, and they picked up her body around the 28th, just before the dogs came in. So it was just before the trunk was left open and just before the dogs came in. And the dogs alerted to the back of the car, the blood and the cadaver. And this was a few days before they went to Huelva, however you say it, I don't know. So when you look at that timeline, you have to wonder, was she in Sagres? Did they move her on around the 28th? Not necessarily to PDL. Maybe they took her to Sagres, or somebody drove to Sagres. It didn't have to be them. And then the dogs came in, and then they took a visit to Huelva. Sorry, I should have said Huelva just now, because there was a lot of questionable time involvement, extra mileage, things that they couldn't explain. It's very questionable. And Kenny has agreed with me and a friend of his, a police friend of his, or ex-police, I don't know, to research that time frame. Now, I'm reading my WordPress blog, and the day that I believe something may have happened, there was speculation that the McCanns went to Sagres, but it was never confirmed. Kind of fits, doesn't it? I don't know. Anyway, I'm certainly going to look into that. Now, the creche records show that Madeline was taken out of the creche after a few minutes, and the twins shortly after. But it also wasn't confirmed, as the records are difficult to understand, I believe. And it's very possible that on that Sunday, on the Monday. Yeah, we are on Monday, aren't we? Yeah. On the Monday, if by then Madeline wasn't going to the creche and that Russell O'Brien's daughter was going, I believe in the afternoon they went swimming, and she had something wrong with her foot, so she couldn't go swimming. Is that why it looks like Madeline was taken out after 3 minutes, or after, 3 minutes? Yeah, it was just a few minutes. So maybe that might answer that it was the Russell O'Brien's daughter went in to, be Madeline, or not be Madeline, but just the mental visuals of a child near Jerry being Madeline. But she had to leave because she couldn't go swimming. I don't know. These are the things you have to think about. Now, something may have happened with the shutters on Sunday, as the maintenance men were called in. Now, they came on a Tuesday. Curiously, Matthew claims to have had problems with his blind also. They were in the apartment next door, but no record of having them fixed. The McCann's shutters were fixed on the Tuesday, the following day. So no other details. It was a day when no one seemed to want to discuss. Kate claims in her diary that everyone was at the tapas that night. But claims, who knows? So I hope you're understanding everything here. I keep going off on tangents, but that Sagres comment just hit me as is there something? We'll have to dig deeper. Kenny, we're on it. Okay, now Tuesday is the morning, the day that everything seemed to start to happen. And I'm actually glad I've got this to read alongside, because I've got the movie in my head, but I'm coming up with little snippets which I wouldn't have remembered otherwise. This is the day that everything started to happen. The McCanns decided to have breakfast in the apartment rather than to walk to the Millennium, because they didn't have a buggy for the twins, and bought food from the Baptiste store nearby. Now, according to tennis records, Georgina, the tennis coach, this was the morning that Madeline had mini tennis. The mini tennis was discussed by Jane, Kate, and Rachel and became very confusing, as Rachel claims it was Thursday and Jane claims it was Wednesday. However, for the details of the mini tennis for them all, one would expect the occasions is remembered more than the date. And there was questions as to, they were claiming that Jerry came and watched. I do have a video on this. Jerry came and watched, but Jerry couldn't have been there to watch because he was playing in the other tennis court. Another thing I've just remembered, I keep remembering all these things, is that I have a little discussed issue with the picture, with Madeline's tennis picture. And I'm going to have to post it in the group because once again, it starts to get a little bit confusing. But if you study it, if you just take Madeline's tennis picture, I don't think I've got it handy here, and you look at it, there's a line, almost like a wet line. And I've added it to and compared it to my driveway when it had been wet and when it was drying, and it has the same markings. So it looks very much like when Madeline's tennis ball pictures were taken, the court had been wet. When I checked, first of all, if it was claimed to be Madeline's tennis in the morning and it was still wet at 11, when would it have been washed? And would they be playing earlier on a really wet tennis court? I think it was Monday they claimed that they cleaned it, and Wednesday. So when I looked at this picture and saw that it was wet, I wondered, is this picture taken the day that they cleaned the tennis court? Which I'm not sure if it was Monday. Anyway, this is how research goes. You think of something, a possibility, and you just check to see whether or not it could happen. But I will go into more detail in that, because I did do lots of graphics on it and studying it and phoning up tennis places. So we'll work on it. Another thing, Kenny. Now, Catriona, the children's nanny, actually did join in with the mini tennis that morning. So Georgina didn't really have the need to know children's names. And so when she was asked, she maybe just looked at the rota and realized that and she said Madeline's group played on the Tuesday. She didn't specifically name Maddie, and that's why I haven't got that down as proof that Maddie was there. I mean, she wouldn't have probably known any of their names because Catriona was there with them. Now, Kate claims to have run back to the apartment to get her camera to take a picture. Rachel claimed it was Jane who took the picture. And Russell claims it was not Jane. All of these discrepancies, this is what I'm saying. There's a lot of discrepancies that started happening Tuesday morning. And this is why when anybody asks me, I don't just grab out of the air, oh yeah, something happened to Madeline earlier in the week. It must have been the Monday or whatever. The reason I chose Monday is because all these weird things started happening on the Tuesday morning. And there's more. So, yeah. Okay. Now then we get to lunchtime. Now, remember, I've mentioned so many times that the way they got away with the crash was because they arrived with Russell at the same time. Jerry, Russell, whether Kate was there, I don't know. So on the Tuesday morning, Jerry walked with Jez to the crash to pick up Madeline because his son, I believe, was in the other crash or the crash. I can't remember now. Please forgive me on that. But this is when Jerry made a point to telling him they've left the children alone. Jez explained to him that the evening crash was available and they provide blankets to bring the children home. Why would he be telling him that? And what father would be proud to say, oh yeah, we leave our children alone at night when we go out to the tapas? No, it was, my opinion, it was told, it was contrived for a reason to get into Jez's mind that, oh golly, the abduction, yeah, that's right, he told me he left them alone. You know, it kind of fits into place, doesn't it? After lunch, they all walked to the beach with the twins in a buggy. They'd mentioned that they didn't go to breakfast because they didn't have a buggy for the twins. And yet they've got the buggy. They go to the... and they went to enter the water. It was a chilly day, so they didn't want to enter the water. But they did buy... Oh, golly, they bought 5 ice creams. Why would you overstate that comment? Why not just say, oh, we had ice creams. We bought 5 ice creams. That's to tell you, Maddie was there. And I don't believe she was. And they watched a guitarist at the restaurant, describing him in great detail. Now, why would they describe him in great detail? I haven't figured that one out. Maybe, yeah, there may be something in it. If somebody can come up with something, that would be great. So then, at 10 to 3, they return Madeline to the crash. And that's when Jerry bought the sunglasses from one of the street vendors on the way back. And once she was back at the crash, would you believe they went on an ice cream trip? Now, I believe the McCanns had to pay extra for these things, or the parents paid extra. It just doesn't fit, does it? Doesn't fit at all. According to Travel TripAdvisor, it was something that was agreed and paid for separately. So why did they go before that? I don't believe any of that happened. But you see, at the time, they didn't realize this was all going to be scrutinized. And so you can see the contradictions. And why would there be contradictions? I only can think of one thing. If nothing happened to Maddie until Thursday evening, then you wouldn't have a lot of contradictions. Not specific ones like that, where they go for ice cream and then pay for a trip from the crash so that she could go again just after. No, it just does not fit. So Tuesday evening is when things started to become odd. Hang on, before we get to Tuesday, I just want to ask, is everything okay in chat? And is there anything somebody needs to tell me, Carrie? Or anybody? Do I need to know anything? Emily's still there, and Carrie, and okay. Okie dokie. Emily, thank you for that. Emily's given me the thumbs up. Everything's fine. So that's good. So back to Tuesday. Now, on the Tuesday, they all went to the tapas, except Russell, who stayed in his apartment because his youngest daughter was sick. Now, what is really kind of weird is that she was sick. There was issues, whether or not he'd washed the sheets. But funnily enough, a similar thing happened on Thursday as well. If you remember that he stayed in the apartment and Jane went to free him up so he could come back, and it's all very odd. Now, according to the quiz mistress who supervised the trivia quiz from about 9 and then joined the table until approximately 9:50, no one left that table. And as she recalled, she did not see Kate during that time and does not remember seeing David Payne. So was Russell, Kate, and David missing. That's a lot of them missing. Is that it's kind of odd, isn't it? So that would only leave Diane and Fiona and Matthew. Yeah, we don't. Yeah. When you look at it like that, you have to wonder. Now, there is something where the police did ask them whether or not the Irwin sisters joined them at the table, and everybody was saying no. But I wondered, why were they so important? And is it that they were invited to the table to kind of make up the numbers so that if Kate and say Jane wasn't there, because if something had happened to Maddie earlier, she would have been grieving and maybe not coming. Well, I kind of know that she didn't. I'm pretty much sure that she didn't come to dinner on the Tuesday or the Wednesday, which I'll tell you in a minute. But on the Tuesday, because the quiz mistress didn't see her there. Was she there? Grieving. Was she at home grieving? Oh, hang on. That's the night of the telephone calls. That's the night of the crying. So hold up. It's so hard when you're listening to a lot of lies and trying to put them together and find the common denominator as to what might be the truth. It's very difficult. There was one place setting that looked like somebody had been there and left. 9 p.m. is usually the time they start the appetizers. So which one of them was there? Shortly after Mrs. Fenn in the apartment above. Oh, right. At 10:16, Kate starts to receive a flurry of phone calls until 10:27. Presumably at the apartment, as they claim they didn't take the phones to the restaurant, but we really don't know that. So shortly after, Mrs. Fenn in the apartment claims to have heard crying, increasingly stronger with what sounded like daddy, daddy, daddy. And it seemed to have come from a toddler for about an hour and a quarter until 11:45. It's hard to believe what happened there. If you go back to what the police originally suggested in the newspapers at that time, that they suspected Kate was I don't like to say it, but you know what I'm trying to say. And if she was Maddie calling for her daddy? Was that Maddie? I've always said it's possible that it was her mum saying Maddie, but I don't know. You know, when you're looking at so much, there can be so much that's different. It's always presumed to be Maddie, but we know that Rachel claims to have bathed Jane Tanner's older daughter in their apartment. This is a little known to many people, that she admits to giving a bath to Jane Tanner's daughter. And that's, I've put a little question mark there. That's while Jane was doing something else. Was she unable to do it because she was busy with Kate? And their apartment was also directly next door to the McCanns, and both were beneath Mrs. Fenn. So what Mrs. Fenn heard may have come from below. She may have been mistaken which apartment because they were underneath her. But she heard patio doors close and the crying stopped. Was someone using the patio doors to enter or to exit? We don't know. She did not tell them about this as she didn't want to distress them further. I believe this was the night that they claimed that Amelie was crying and Madeline came into their room. They actually I think they do 3 nights where they claim that the children were crying for different reasons. It's you can see this is Tuesday. This is like there's a lot of odd things happening Tuesday, and this is why my claim, if something happened to Maddie, I believe it was before Tuesday, and that's when these discrepancies started. And this is not all the discrepancies at all. We've got issues with who opened what door, who met who. Oh, it's there's a lot of discrepancies. I think I've got about 50 very basic discrepancies for the week. There is a video clip of the hairdresser claiming that Mrs. Fenn told them that McCann visited another bar, Chaplin's, that night, but that's hearsay. So we don't know. It's possible, but we don't know. Now we get to Wednesday morning. Very early, around 7, Kate had 3 calls to her friend in England. Oh, yeah, we're getting to this. Phone calls. 3 calls to her friend Amanda, who's married to a pathologist. Shortly after, at around 8 a.m., Jerry starts receiving the first of 14 text messages, which is what we discussed. What I haven't added here, because although I did know it, I didn't remember it, and I certainly didn't realize for a long time that the person that Jane called at 8:30 was a forensic. They specialize in low copy number, LCM, DNA. Why? Is there, can I just ask, is there anybody that's starting to see the reason that I'm thinking something happened earlier, because all these discrepancies are just not, they just can't happen if things are normal? Is there anybody there that can? Okay, Kenny said to tell you the reason he described the guitar player is that he had to persuade everyone he was there a long time with 5 ice creams. Well, Kenny, you could absolutely be right there, because just to have 5 ice creams and disappear, but to be there, they also had to, Kenny, I think you've got it, they had to recognize and make it sound truthful that they were there, so they had to describe the guitar player. Good old Kenny. We'll be working on this, Kenny. Thank you so much for that. I'm glad I caught that. So, okay, let me see. Any more questions or things you need to tell me? Because I got to do Shirley's job as well, because Shirley isn't here. She's probably off enjoying herself somewhere. Can you believe that? Good on her. She deserves it. She does such a great job. Yeah, the blood under the tile belonged to police officer Lino Enriquez. So if anybody tells you that was Maddie's blood under the tile, no, it was Lino. Thanks, Cherry. I can never fix my computer up to do some of the things they do. And one of the things is pop up little messages, and it just happens by accident, and it's happening on this computer that I've got next to me, so I can kind of see my chat messages pop up. Not just in the corner, just a little thing, notification. So I can see when others are putting in links. Somebody puts in links for us on one, and I can see all the links cropping up. Doing her job. Okay. Was Maddie's blood on top of the tile? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Maddie's blood was there, and it was basically, they, I think, confirmed it was her because it was all her components. I can't remember the wording, but you see, the thing is, that is not part of, they can't use that in an investigatory way because she was in the apartment. And if, as Jerry claimed, that she had a nosebleed or possibly had a nosebleed, she was supposed to be there. But they did find her blood, and they did alert to the cadaver odor. So yes, Emily, the dogs did alert before the officer lifted the tile. And once he'd lifted the tile, the dog may have alerted again, because the dog came back on the 4th, I think. So I believe it was around the time they were doing that. So yeah, he would have alerted again to the officer's blood, but he'd previously alerted. Now keep in mind, I don't know, but there's forensics don't need to be taken just from blood. The reason they chose a blood dog, is because with the cadaver dog, he barks at blood also. But if a blood dog doesn't bark, then they know it's cadaver. So, but also you can take forensics from everything else. And there was quite a few, 16 or maybe more samples of something being sent for forensic. We don't know if it was blood. There was stuff on the curtains. We don't know. It's hard it's hard. It's just the thought of something happening to Maddie. Anyway, there was a parachute picture claiming it to be Maddie. We don't know it was Maddie. I don't believe it wasn't specifically. There's lots of these issues, but oh yeah, thank you, Emily, just reminding me that when the dogs did alert to cadaver odor and the blood, which was actually pretty much described as being Maddie's, nobody else had died in that apartment. So if it wasn't Maddie, who was it? If nobody else had died, there's only one person that we believe is possible. Back to Wednesday morning, around 7. Oh yeah, I've done that. Good job. I've got a little bit of a memory, isn't it? Because we went off on the tangent with Jane, that Jane had to speak to. I mean, that is really weird, and that's definitely something Kenny and I are going to have to discuss. Now, this comment, Diane recalls seeing the McCanns at the Millennium, despite them saying they didn't go to breakfast. It's a comment that I remembered. Didn't know why she said it. Didn't know why she'd mention it, because if they weren't there, why were they there? This is the comment that when I was working on the Crash Deceit about how Russell and Jerry would arrive at the same time. And there was, when Jerry dropped off the twins, there was 20 minutes before he got to the kids' club. Why? Because usually he got there in less than 10 minutes. But I remembered that Diane had said this. So when I looked, okay, they dropped the twins off and they possibly walked to the Millennium, didn't have breakfast, just to gather up with Russell, and then walked over to a kids club and put in Ella. Because why else? How else would Russell have arrived at the kids club at the same time as Jerry? They were in two different locations, but Jerry maybe went up, picked him up, and they walked over. This is the stuff that helps confirm to me what I figured out is likely very justified. At some point during the morning, the cleaner went into their apartment and the McCanns left via the balcony door. And she went in, and this was something which, again, is very, very odd. She made the beds and noticed a cot in the McCann's bedroom. Both Jerry and Kate absolutely deny the cot was there. Now, why? Why? I mean, we've got to believe the cleaner. She knows what she was doing. She cleaned, and she saw a cot in the McCann's bedroom. This was on the Wednesday. I think we're still on Wednesday. Why else would they deny having a cot unless there was something suspicious happening? Then around lunchtime, Kate went for a jog in her pink trainers with Matthew and apparently was bitten by a dog, causing blood on her leg. Now, I haven't really checked into that and the whys and the wherefores of why they went jogging and why she's going on about her pink trainers and having blood. I haven't figured that one. Haven't worked on that. So if anybody out there has that figured out, please let me know. But now we're going to Wednesday evening. And you see all these discrepancies, contradictions, weird things are happening Tuesday, Wednesday, and into Thursday. Now, why would they all be happening if it was a normal week? If it was a normal week, why would Jerry and Kate deny that they had a cot in the bedroom? They wouldn't. There's no need to. What's the big deal about it? There was a big deal because something had happened. And I'm hoping by telling you all this, I'm sorry if I'm going on, but it's so important to me that everybody has the opportunity to hear and have a feel for what I believe. And you don't have to believe it. You can go and check, you can ask. But why else is all this happening on a normal week? It wouldn't be. I mean, if you're on holiday and you had a cot in your room and the cleaner said, oh yeah, they had a cot in your room, you'd say, well, yeah, wouldn't you? I mean, why wouldn't you? It's just absolutely odd. So anyway, Wednesday evening, and this is interesting too, because as I mentioned, I believe Kate was grieving Tuesday and Wednesday. And the reason I say Wednesday is because Jez Wilkins was at the tapas when Jerry arrived with Russell. That's odd, because they always came with their partners, right? And was told that Kate was putting the children to bed. She did not seem to arrive while he was there. But where was Jane? Why didn't Jane come with Russell? You know, if Jerry just decided to meet up with Russell, why wasn't Jane with him, as they usually came in pairs? And I mean, one has to wonder if Kate was grieving, was Jane with her? Or did they ever arrive? Where was Jane? With Kate? Had something happened to Madeline and Kate was grieving? Did they ever arrive? The group stayed at the tapas late that night. The waiters wanted to leave at midnight, but the group stayed there until approximately 1 a.m. So was there something important they needed to discuss? Out of earshot of maybe Diane Webster? Was Kate there or was she not? But it needed to be put in place. What was going to happen the following evening? And I believe that's when they did it. I mean, that was quite rude of them to stay well after the waiters wanted to go for about an hour. I mean, that's pretty rude, but it would have been probably really necessary. According to Kate and Jerry, they left just before 11. Well, the waiters say 1. Jerry left first, and when she was back at the apartment, Jerry was in bed. He claims Kate spent a few moments in the bed and because of his snoring went to sleep in Madeline's and the twins' room. However, when you look at the picture of that night in the forensic pictures, there is no sign that anybody slept in that bed for even 2 seconds. There was a pillow there, could have been a child laid on it or whatever, but there was no sign of Kate popping in for a couple of minutes and then moving on to, no. All of these things you can ask me about if you want to see the videos or the pictures. As I say, I'm not spending time to actually show you any of this because I'm taking so long as it is. I hope you're not too bored with me. Because we have got to Thursday morning, so we are getting there. Mind you, there's a whole lot after Thursday, but I'll stop at the Thursday, I think. So, they woke at 7. Madeline came to them crying, and according to the May the 4th statement, this is another discrepancy, asked why they hadn't come when the twins were crying. However, in Jerry's May the 10th statement, he changed it and said it was Madeline was crying, and it remains that version to this day. And I think when it came to September, she claims it was Madeline. But what is curious is that Kate claims she would have not thought about it anymore, except once Madeline was missing, she recalled it and thought it was important. But the fact is, did she think about it more that night when she was out? Because Jane and I think it was Rachel claim that Madeline was crying on the Wednesday night. So if she didn't think about it anymore, she wouldn't have told them. Or, as I believe happened, she told them afterwards, and this is their claim, because she didn't tell them after. On the May the 4th, she claimed it was the twins were crying. So that was May the 4th, the following morning. So after May the 4th, they changed that to Madeline. Why would they change it? I think we know why. And I don't think that Jane and I wondered if it was Fiona, would say that, because they obviously didn't hear it that night, because Kate would have claimed it was Madeline, the twins that were crying. See, it gets, when everybody's lying, it gets really complicated. And I went on to explain it more, but and here is, it happened a few times. This is just one in particular. Upon leaving the apartment on, are we on Thursday morning? Kate claims they all left through the front door. Jerry claims that Kate and the kids left through the patio door. He left Kate to go down the steep steps with 3 children so he could lock the doors of an empty apartment. But Kate says they went through the front door, which would be easier with the children. Now, the following hours are really difficult to explain because of the contradictions. So I'm wondering if I should try and explain it on here or not. Keeping in mind that Rachel, I believe, was trying to be helpful. So what she was saying was not true, and it shows. Rachel claims that she sat with Kate by the pool on Thursday morning, awaiting Madeline's mini tennis. But Madeline didn't play mini tennis on Thursday. She played on, if she was there, she would have played on the Tuesday. And Jane was there and took the photo of Maddie with the tennis balls. She also claims that this was the last time she saw Madeline. So was it the last time she saw Madeline at tennis or Thursday? I believe that she saw the Sharks game, the other children's tennis game, and she just thought that Maddie should have been there, and that's why she mentioned it. Kind of fits if she's trying to cover up, which I believe she was. And I put here, had something happened to Madeline earlier, and she saw the little blonde girls, Madeline's age, playing tennis and thought that Madeline should be there. The police were persistent in trying to establish with her which courts the children were playing on. The court she identified was the incorrect one, according to the tennis records. So she claimed the one on the left or whatever. Anyway, the police questioned her, so they knew that there was issues about whether she'd seen them or not. Jane and Russell claimed to have both been at the mini tennis of the group that was not Madeline's, but was called the Sharks and was the same age group. And that's where Russell mentioned about not being able to take photos of the children and things like that. Fiona claims to have been by the pool, and they both went to pick up Fiona's youngest daughter in the same room as Madeline. There was 3 different explanations. You would think on the day Madeline went missing, they would all know exactly what they did that day. Who picked her up, who dropped her off, when they dropped her off, who dropped the twins, who picked her up after. Do you know what? Fiona claims that she was in the rec area with Kate, and they went off to pick up Fiona's daughter and Madeline. Kate claims that she went back to the apartment to make lunch, and she went with Fiona to pick up Madeline. and that Jerry probably picked up the twins. Jerry claims that he took the shortcut and he was the one that went to pick up Madeline and doesn't know who picked up the twins. And Catriona, the nanny, claims she doesn't know who picked them up. I think that's like a line of red flags. And this is lunchtime on the Thursday. They should all remember. I do have a video on that, of course. So something that I did study that not a lot of people did because they were in Portuguese, so I had to, they were printed, so you couldn't copy and paste, and I had to copy the Portuguese and try and figure it out what it said. But the police timeline diagrams, they do have their basic timeline, and it is very, very, very interesting. Really interesting, because it's very different to what we've been told. I'm not sure if this explains one. I know one of the timelines was really good. Now this is very interesting. This is Thursday again. As the police timeline diagrams claim that although Kate and Jerry claim the twins were in the crash, there are no crash records for them. Maybe they were not released, as I've always believed, but the diagrams tell us something different. Thursday morning diagrams do not show the twins were at the crash. Jane mentions in the diagrams, these are the police timelines, that they were picked up from the crash, and Fiona claims they were with her all afternoon. If that's the case, how was the last picture taken? So I think those Portuguese police diagrams are really, really, really important, and I did my best to transcribe what I could read that was printed, and then try and translate it, and then put it. It's a very complicated diagram, so I just figured out a few things. Anybody who's got a lot of time, especially if you know Portuguese, I would love to know what you discover from those diagrams, because they're the police diagrams, they're timetables. Further confirmation that it was suspicious about whether Madeline was there for the last picture at 2:29 on May the 3rd comes from Rachel. She had said in her statement that both Jane and her played tennis that lunchtime, supported by Jane Tanner's statement. Jane claims that Madeline was shouting at them through the fence. Rachel does not mention this, and for a good reason, because she claims that the last time she saw Madeline was during mini tennis. Was that mini tennis on Thursday when she was mistaken and Madeline didn't play? Or was it on Tuesday when Madeline's group played, in which case the last time she saw her was Tuesday? Either way, Rachel, by default, did not see Madeline by the pool when they were playing, whether Tuesday morning or Thursday morning. When they were playing tennis, as she says, the last time she saw Madeline was when she was playing tennis. Whether Tuesday morning or Thursday morning. If that was the case, is it true that Jane and Rachel were playing tennis and Madeline wasn't there for the last picture? Is Rachel lying about the last time she saw Madeline? Jane claims this is really confusing, but it could explain or give a kind of a proof as to why the last picture was not taken on the Thursday. Are they both lying about playing tennis at the time the last picture was supposed to be taken? Is it possible they were being helpful, but both had got the story wrong? How could Jane see Madeline shouting through the fence, but Rachel didn't? Were they both there? If they were lying, why? Were the McCanns there? And most importantly, was Madeline there? Now, we're going into Thursday afternoon. I think that's enough for today. I can do another one and go into Thursday afternoon recap of what I've gone through so far, and I think that's enough to take in. Hopefully that you've understood it, or you can't take any more and it's time for bed. You don't need me. As I always say, you can have too much Lizzie. So let me close that down for now, and we will resume this at some other point. Maybe if you have any questions, if you can pop them onto the thread that is posted, and I will try and answer them, or give you a link, or help you, or Cherry will help you, or Kerry will help you, or even Kenny might help you. Actually, anybody who knows the answer can help. Okay. Emily. Yeah, Emily's asking me, can we do a live at some point where viewers can come on? Absolutely. I think you've been up, haven't you, Emily? We've had very few lives. I used to do Saturday live every Saturday at 3:00, I think. But situation, and I was put in a situation to look after my friend. I was unable to do it. Then my internet was not good. Then I was moving, and for lots of different reasons, it's been very sporadic. And I've started to do a few more now. Sonia Polton has invited me to be on her breakfast show. I haven't yet responded to her, specifically because of the crash timeline, the crash deceit. There's lots. There's just so much I want to discuss. And that's why I think going through the group, what really happened to Madeline McCann, there are so many questions. I mean, in 2 hours, I just checked one day, randomly. In 2 hours, there were 90 replies, 90 replies in 2 hours, comments on it. Unbelievable. They are so busy. And Jane and Colin and oh golly, I can't remember the names. Marika, I think. Anyway, they're the admin. You can certainly thank them for the work they do, because that's tough going. Wow. And Jane is always there. Sue is Jerry reminding me. I think that's what you're telling me, right, Jerry? That the other admin is Sue. Yeah, Sue. How is it? I'm awful with names. I'm sorry. Okay, and Sandra Mullins. Just got in from work and saw my live, and now I'm going. Don't worry, I'll watch tomorrow. Okay. I would have given you a shout out at the beginning if I'd have known there, Sandra. And Mr. Shannonite. Surprised to see you here, but nice. And Revy Green, of course. Carrie's here doing her thing, and the rest of the chat's disappeared. As I say, I'm sorry if I haven't welcomed you, because I am so hopeless when I'm on my own. I need Shirley so much, but I can't. I just ask, like, are you around? And I know she's not. And I know she would if she could. But I try anyway. So, hi, Shirley. Hope you're having a good time. And Carrie, who's got the two boys and so busy with them, and she takes time to come out here. And Cherry, who's so busy watching. And Caroline is another admin. I'm so sorry. I haven't sat down and figured out who I never get time for any. I see a post and sometimes I'll answer. I rarely ever get back to see what somebody has replied to me on. Just not enough hours in a day. But anyway, we haven't had a visit. We had a guest, Speckles. No, he's busy washing. And I left the door open for them to come in, and I've got loads of flies now, so I'm going to have to try and get the fly swatter out for that. We won't call it a fly squatter. Anyway, I appreciate you all being here. It's really nice to know that people listen to you. You know, I could be sat here staring at the clouds and nobody would be listening to me. So it's a great opportunity to have people around me, great people. There's two there's two more things I just want to add. Is that Hope Rabbit's not here, because he was asking the question the other day about what's the worst thing about social media. And let me tell you, I love it. I don't know, but I really do love it and enjoy it and try and make use of it in the best way possible. So, no, I mean, I've made so many good friends here, and it's a great way to be able to give you the information that I have. And I do hope that somehow we're not going to solve the case. The PJ already know everything. Well, they know most things anyway. But the other thing, I do want to have a gripe. I have hated how Facebook have changed lately. I used to, I hate replies. I wouldn't allow replies until last January. I think I started allowing replies, and Steph was there, right there. Please don't use the reply button, because for me, maybe it's just me, but when you log on, you want to go through Facebook, a thread, and I like to be able to see everything of what everybody said. And although it's not on a reply, if they wanted to reply to somebody, you just tag in their name, and then you can go back and see what that person said. So it's like, it's nice and easy right the way through. And then the first thread up is the last one that somebody replied to. So it's the newest activity. I discovered today, well, actually, I kind of knew it, but I'd forgotten about it actually on my computer. I always do it on my phone because I don't use the phone that often. But you get the choice: newest activity, newest post, or something else. Whatever. And because I was posting it was an old picture of when I'd said I was going to do the live. So I posted it to update it and refreshed, and no, it didn't come to the top. So, oh, okay, maybe I didn't do it right. Went back a couple of times, checked on another tab. No, it was lost somewhere way down. And that's when I realized I had it in most relevant or new posts. And it wasn't popping up. When I go onto a Facebook group, this is my gripe of the day. When I go onto a Facebook group, I want to read the newest activity. I want to read who has posted last and what have they posted. And then second, I want to go through that. And I don't want somebody posting something and you have to go down like 10 threads before you get to it. No, I like to know the latest. So that's my gripe. Why won't they give us the option of locking in how you want to view it? Because it changes every single time. I want to be able to lock in newest activity. I don't want most relevant. I don't want the new posts. I want newest activity. So if anybody knows anybody at Facebook, would you please tell them that I have an issue? It's, yeah. But is anybody else the same? Okay, I'm just seeing comments. Emily, you keep retracting your messages. And Mr. Shannonites, he's doing something he's not supposed to do, but that's what Mr. Shannonite does. Believe me, that's if you figure out whose name he is, because I don't recognize him under the other name. I thought he was some polite person, but it's not Mr. Shannonite. You've got to watch out for. One question. What Dad did in McCann supposedly bleach the floors in the apartment? I don't know that. I've not found that there's bleach. We know they washed them. We know that they went to Baptista to get some cleaning supplies. Maybe they did, but I am pretty sure that there was not one officer who mentioned going into the apartment and smelling bleach. And certainly it wasn't Gonzalo Amaral who went in and smelled bleach, because he didn't go to, I think, the following day. And that's his one regret. He does have a regret that he's mentioned, that he didn't go there that night, because he said then there would be a person that remembers what everybody was wearing. Because as it was, nobody was able to tell him what everybody was wearing that night. And that's one of his biggest regrets. And I think the other regret is that they were basically, I've forgotten the word, they were required to go along and not to push about questioning the McCanns. I think that was in place right from the first day. And he regrets, I think, following that. He would have liked to have done it his own way, which probably would have been the best. Kerry knows plenty of rude words. Well, that shocks me. That shocks me, because I thought it was only Shirley. And Mr. Shannon, I think he's causing disruption in chat. I really do. Yeah, an angel. Yeah, right. Oh, Emily did get a typo of a swear word on a different forum once. Well, let me tell you, I do a lot of voice to text. So if when you're reading any of my threads and they don't make sense and they've got weird words in them, I'm really sorry about that, but it's voice to text. But I have, Revy knows, and I'm not going to repeat what I said, but it was not what I would normally say. Right, Revy? And as for Kerry, well, knowing all those rude words, because I call them Shirley words, because if there's any issue, and I mean, I've been around swearing all my life. My kids don't swear in front of me, which is lovely. But if anybody else does it, that's up to them. I just don't like to have it on my lives, that's all, on Maddie lives, out of respect for me and Maddie. Because us old people, we don't like to hear all those rude words. But Shirley, she's got her little vocabulary of them, and sometimes if I want to say something which is kind of out of anger, I'll call it a Shirley word. Good old Shirley. So I'm guessing if Mr. Shannonite is causing aggro there, for Shailin Pilly, a lot of people won't like me for this. I don't believe Mr. Murat is involved in any which way. There are coincidences, as there are with a lot of things, or there might be coincidences for a different reason. But I do know that he was targeted as being a scapegoat. And when Jerry turns around, when he's asked something about Murat, I've seen it a different way to how most people see it, because I see him say, what was the question? What was the question? Do you know do you know Robert Murat or something? I think something like that. And he's like, no, I don't. To me, I think that was contrived. I may have the wrong words there, but if you know what I mean, I think he specifically made it seem like Murat was involved, because they were going out of their way to target him on the Thursday night and the Friday. And then, of course, we had the, what's her name? The one who actually created the issue for him to suspect, by the PJ making him Arguido. Can't remember her name, I'm sorry. Sometimes can't remember Shirley's name either. I did that on one live. I mean, how's that? You've got one of your best friends helping you online on a live, and you can't remember her name. Yeah, I can do it. Anything else here? Oh, Emily. Okay. Yeah. That word without an O would be quite bad. Oh, Cherry's causing mischief in Messenger? Did you know? Oh, okay. See, this is what Cherry does. She really helps. Did you know Robert Murat? And Jerry McCann says, I'm not going to comment on that. And he hesitates, as I recall. I think that was contrived. I know most people think, oh, well, that shows, he was involved. No, not for me. I did, because I heard about Murat so much, I did go through and try and research a bit, and I came up with absolutely nothing but embarrassment to think that they'd actually implicated him, his mother, and yeah, I'm sorry. As far as I'm concerned, if you've got a thread on Murat, you go right ahead. I will not comment on it because I just don't believe it's true. That's an opinion. I got an opinion, yeah. Germany is quiet regarding CB. Has there been any development? You know what? From the start, I've never believed that, as many people haven't. Madeline, according to the Portuguese police, died in the apartment. The parents hid her body and they simulated an abduction. And that is absolutely, everything points to that. So when it comes to all these different people and things and situations, and I've even got somebody on my messenger who thinks she's Maddie. I got taken in a little bit before I realized what she was doing, but it's sad. It's really sad. But no, there might be other slight involvement in some way, or I don't know, but no. CB is not, he's not credible to even have been there, never mind. Certainly not at the Ocean Club like they claim. And at the end of the day, I believe, and actually I see a lot of people have said that they believe that, what's his name, a German prosecutor, Walters, is just looking for fame, sadly, that he's just sees it as an opportunity to get Germany on the map, and is using Maddie in that way, and himself. And I don't know how true that is, but I think it's a very good possibility, because I don't think he's involved with the McCanns as such. In which case I think, it's one of their plans. So I think it's more something that has a different reason, different meaning. No, the PJ don't want anything to do with Christian Bruckner. They'll help, they have to support, they have to do whatever, but a stand up here. Is it Christmas? Stand up comes and joins me at Christmas. I do a Christmas show, Christmas morning, to remember all of our friends online and our friends and family, and we have a toast for them. I did it every year with my mum and dad. Every Christmas morning at 10, we'd have a drink for my brother in England. Then, after they all passed away, I decided to do it online. And so I do a Christmas thing. Now, I may be wrong here, because it may not have been mine, because I think Nuff Nuff did one on Christmas Day or New Year's. No, I think it was Christmas Day. Anyway, stand up. I think it's her one day. She likes to have a few. She is hilarious. Oh, she loves me. She keeps talking and then she disappears. Oh, I love you, Lizzie. And she comes back and I love you. Hi, stand up. I'm just telling them your story. There's some great people on here. And I tell you, I don't know what it is. There's nobody on here that I dislike. Only 2 people in 16 years that I really don't want anything to do with. Apart from that, I tend to get along with everybody. I like everybody. Even if I don't like some of what they do, there are still parts of them that I really do like. I can't help it. It's just the way it is. But anyway, I should get going now. And I really want to thank you all for being here, and I really appreciate it. And I will continue with Thursday afternoon and into the evening, and maybe into the following 9 months, because I have a calendar of what they did for 9 months. Every day I wrote down what they wore. I wrote down the blog, the news articles of, that had information, Kate's diary, the phone pings, everything in one day. So that you can see from day to day, right through from May to September, everything in context and all the information. So it's a really valuable thread, and I've only just found it on Wayback Machine because I've lost one of my forums. So yeah, so that's important. So we've got so much to do. There is so much that I want to share with you. And I keep telling everybody, I've got so much in my brain. I don't want to, I want to get it out before I either lose it or I'm not able to tell you or anything. You know, it's when you get old, who knows? I'm not saying I'm going to go. I told my kids by the time I'm 90, 95, I'll have my own group. You know, we used to go to karaoke. I've discovered my own group is a Facebook group, so I've already achieved. the broadcast from here. But now the other one. Here I am again. Here I am again. Oh, we've got echoes and stuff, so. Oh, we've got echoes and stuff, so. Oh, we've got echoes and stuff, so. Oh, we've got echoes. Okay, sorry about that. Just my computer again, don't know what happened. So thanks everybody, and night, enjoy your night and be nice, be kind to everyone, and know that not everybody's the same as we are. Night.